Hey friends, welcome to Blushing Phoenix. I hope you're having the most incredible day, and I just wanted to jump on here and try to catch up with you a little bit. Obviously, my video format has been hit or miss and all over the place, and I posted something on Instagram last night just saying I have so much to tell you. So much has changed, so many great things, and that it's not even a particular event that happened or some major accomplishment or anything really tangible or massive. It's just for the first time in my entire life, I feel at home in my body. And that's the most incredible feeling. It's something I've never experienced. Even when I think back about when I was younger and didn't have a ton of self-awareness or any self-awareness at all, I felt like I was thriving and living my best life. But then it's just because I was lacking self-awareness. So you're essentially in robot mode and you don't know what is happening inside of you or outside of you. You're just there, which I didn't really mind when I was younger because I didn't flush when I was younger. It's once I became very aware of myself and my being and my energy, that's when I started to flush. Well, and how the outside world how I thought the outside world was perceiving me and who I thought I needed to be in order to belong and be in the outside world and in my inside world. It was just a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't pay attention to. And then all of a sudden everything was hyper aware in my mind, which is too far to the other direction. And then I now feel like I'm in this balanced place of just rest, but also doing my thing and feeling at home in my body. It's crazy because for so many years I strived to be something so much more than I needed to be, trying to be anywhere but here, but yet always feeling like I'm missing something because I wasn't living in the present, and the present it's where we are. It's all we have. So all of that to say, good luck with this video because I'm just going to pour out, and if it resonates with you, then it's for you. If it doesn't, then just push it to the side, and maybe there's some pieces that will resonate. But I want to give you a little bit of a timeline. I think that's how I'm going to start, is just to give you a timeline of some of the things that happened over the past few months, starting in May of 2024. And bring you to where I am now. So I made a little list here to try to keep up with myself a little bit. So back in early May, me and one of my bestest friends in a whole wide world, and I use best friend, I'm very limited on how I call somebody my best friend, but this person truly is somebody who's been there for me, knows me, has worked with me, has seen me in my personal life, has been around my family, has been to my homes in Tennessee and in South Carolina. This is somebody that's they're a family member to me, a true part of my heartbeat and my life. So I was having a moment. I was having a moment with her, and I wound up just shooting really straight with her about what I was feeling and what I was thinking. And it had to do with her specifically. And I remember sending her these audio messages where I just wasn't holding back. I wasn't trying to destroy her, but I wasn't trying to... Sorry, I just got a message from my daughter. Hold, please. We're back. It wasn't an emergency. So anyway, I'm having a moment with my friend. I'm going in. I'm not holding back in a way of needing to clean up my words and my verbiage to make her feel a certain way. She knows me. She's mature. She knows how to regulate herself. She's going to hear me and not just the words specifically or how I formulate the words. She's going to hear me. And I remember I was shaking when I sent her the messages. And then there was a part of me that was shaking in fear. And there was another part of me that was if she doesn't love me after this, then so be it. And I remember feeling this between two worlds, between that fear, but also trusting the unfolding and not holding on to trying to control how another person's going to respond to me. Even though I love her so, so much. I don't really know how to explain it. It was just I'm going to live in my truth, and it's going to either resonate with her or not resonate with her, and she's going to still love me through this, or she's not, and so be it. Like, it is what it is. And I don't mean that in a way of like, who cares? I mean it in a way of like just freedom, like pure freedom. Anyway, all this to say, we wind up having this really mature back and forth. And as I started to calm down in my emotion of what I was expressing, and just having her as like a safeguard, like the things were being said about her, but she also just held space for me to unravel and let all those things come out. She didn't fight with me. She didn't defend herself. She just kind of walked with me through it and said some truths back to me, which is like, this is not the first time that you've expressed this type of thing to me. And this seems like a cycle. Like, this seems like a pattern of something in you. And she wasn't wrong. And I always feel like I'm going in like these cycles. Like, we're up, we're super social, we're creating, we're doing all kinds of things. And then we crash into almost like a bitterness of, well, I don't really know what I want to do next. I'm lacking direction. I'm lacking focus. And she really called out from an outside perspective that she could see that I'm in a cycle. Which is, your ego has to digest that. And I'm like, okay, you're right. And we just wound up having the most beautiful conversation to be able to work through something with somebody that loves you truly unconditionally, and to experience love when it didn't feel good and I wasn't even being super kind. I just was being raw. It's not that like I said, I was not trying to be crazy. I just was being raw and unfiltered. And to have that space held for me in a way that only my husband has really ever held for me, and seen me in my rawest form, and my children as well, especially my daughter who's 16, because she understands. But to work out your problems and have somebody on the other side who doesn't make it about themselves, they just hold that space for you kind of as this wall of comfort, while you just spin around and figure out, you're bumping into the walls. It's all about what's happening inside of you. So anyway, all of that to say, that just did something to me. Like, I wept for days and days and days, like uncontrollable crying, where I would like sit down somewhere, be in like my normal day to day, and then all of a sudden I would just start bawling. It was crazy. And then I would be texting her and just saying like, oh my gosh, I am weeping right now. I'm wailing, like something is purging. And like, to be covered in oh my gosh, I feel like I'm about to start crying. To be covered in so much love, I can't explain what that does to you. And I think because if you've heard my story about being in the closet, the healing closet over, I think it was last summer maybe, or coming into the fall last year, 2023, when we moved to South Carolina, how what I realized in the closet, I saw two versions of me. There was the me now, and then there was this little girl version of me, and there was this older, like beautiful, like glowy white hair version of me. And they both were fine. They were so happy and joyful. And it was like the younger me was just like playing with toys and doing her thing, not a care in the world. And I realized that even all the things that she went through as a little girl, she still was okay. And then I saw this older version of me that was just so patient and kind and calm. And she was just nodding me on in a way of like, you've got time and it's okay. And you're going to be so extremely happy and joyful and filled to the brim with so much presence and consciousness as you age, that it's like, it's okay. And in this moment, it was like this big bubble of love just surrounded me where I am now, in so much acceptance and just love for who I am in every aspect of myself. And I left that closet a totally different person. Like, just a version of me walked in and a different version of me walked out. And that was all leading up to kind of some of the things that stacked up over this past summer, starting with the friend situation. And I just didn't realize how much fear I still had around people actually loving me and staying with me, because people from the distance, they're awesome and think that you make great videos and you are encouraging and I appreciate you. But when you come really close and you really see a person, I'm pretty much an open book. You guys hear and see a lot of just who I am, period. But, you know, you don't necessarily see me in my short temper and my regulation that I'm working on sometimes. But that's a messy process. It gets better over time. It's not as messed up because you're just hyper aware of yourself and the people around you, and that you don't want to hurt the people around you as you're working out your stuff. So anyway, it can feel bigger inside of me than I think it really is. So anyway, that was the friend thing. And then that launched me into some stuff that was happening at work where I had to be super, super vocal. You guys have heard all about my story with, you know, the place that I'm at now that's taught me to use my voice and speak up and not be afraid, and having to cross over that threshold over and over and over and over again until my body starts to actually believe it. Because our body doesn't respond because we just want it to happen. We have to actually show up and become that thing in order for our body to realize, like, oh, we're not going to blush and flush anymore because we don't need to, because we're not afraid. And she's not running away. She's not hiding. She's not making herself small anymore. The body will eventually respond to that. It takes some time, and I know it's super uncomfortable, but the body absolutely responds to that. So whether you're blushing or you deal with sweating or hyperhidrosis, you deal with massive anxiety where you feel so incapable and like you can't do it, the body will eventually respond to how you are showing up. And I'm going to get to that because this is all part of the story here too. So then there's a video where I talked to you all about how I went to a wine and cheese tasting with a friend of mine. And she is a person that I wrote, I don't remember if I wrote this on Blushing Phoenix or if I wrote this on another one of my platforms. But we were sitting at coffee together one day, and as I was sitting with her, it just started going through my whole being. People can be safe. I don't know, it was like a message inside of my body that people can be safe. And I felt like I just took a deep breath while I was with her at coffee and just leaned in to her and our conversation and being very vulnerable and real. And anyway, she's the esthetician. That's my friend Amanda. And we went to have a wine and cheese tasting together. Fantastic. And I flushed like nonstop the whole time I was with her. And I was really confused in my body because I was like, I know I feel okay here. It was so hot in this place. Again, I have a video about it. You can watch it. But it's probably back in like early May when I posted it. Or late May probably. The sun was coming through the window. It was just so extremely hot, and we were drinking wine, and she and I were talking. She knows that I blush. She absolutely did not care. She never made a big deal about it. Nobody made a big deal about it. She continuously talked to me. We talked about the wine. We talked about the cheese, and I just let myself flush and flush and flush and flush. Because first of all, you can't stop it. Second of all, I wasn't going to run away from it, and I wanted to be present with her. And third of all, I just know that people can be safe, and my body is responding in a way that it does when it's hot or when I'm in a really, like, the table was so small and we were all kind of like pushed in there together, and I just don't like those types of environments. If you ever go out to eat with me or in some sort of venue with me, I will pick a side chair where I feel like I can get out. I like to not feel trapped. If I'm on an airplane, I pick the aisle. I just like to feel like I can move my body around. I'm super wiggly too, if you guys haven't figured that out yet. And I just like to be able to move as I start moving around in my chair. Hold on, we need a coffee break. This is getting watered down and I need to drink it. So anyway, I just focused on my breathing. I focused on lowering my shoulders. I just focused on teaching my body, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm flushing and this is the most horrible experience, and letting my brain go crazy. I just was like, wow, this is a great opportunity to practice. I know I'm safe here. This is a fun experience. I'm supposed to be having fun here. I'm going to have fun here. I am having fun here. And then just reminding my body, hey body, I understand you are trying to protect me right now, and I love you so much for that. We are not surviving. Lower your shoulders. Breathe deep from the diaphragm, like breathe, and be present. Be present. You can feel the way you feel. You are safe here. You belong here, but we don't have to survive. We're living in the moment. And I know in the past that has not been a great experience for you, but we're safe and it's okay. So that was then, the cheese and wine. Then I had my first facial for Mother's Day. I wanted a facial. I have a video about that as well. And it was with Amanda, the esthetician. And it's super vulnerable to have somebody touching on your face and your neck. And yeah, you have to go watch that video because it was a whole experience in and of itself. But I just left from that appointment totally different. I mean, I know I could say like I went in the closet, I came out different. I went to have this appointment with Amanda and I came out different. And I can't tell you enough how environment and people in environments changes the course of your life, because I came out of there and it was like immediately I just looked so much brighter and better and I felt so much better. And then because we changed up my skin products and she had done like a deep cleanse type thing on my face, my skin just broke out like crazy for like 2 weeks. And it was all normal. I've had that happen before when I change up some sort of skincare routine, but it was like my skin just needed to purge so that it could restore itself and just come back better than ever. And I just thought that was so symbolic that my skin was just like going nuts. And then I had her there as kind of a coach because she's the one that does these types of services for people. And she's like, totally normal. It's totally normal. This is how your skin should react because of, the actual focused cleansing that she did on my skin, the lymphatic release, and letting the lymphatic drainage. I don't know why I can't put words to what she actually does. You guys get what I'm talking about. But skin went crazy, but I could see that it was getting better and that it was, just bright, and it just boosted my confidence and just made me feel amazing. So that was the facial appointment. Oh, and there was definitely some blushing there because it's just a very vulnerable. You're being like touched on your face and your neck, and not necessarily my chest, but like through like my arms area and stuff up here. But she did such a great job, and she knows that I flush, so I felt so safe. And the environment that she's created is so peaceful and so calming. And anyway, go watch that video because there was a lot there. Let's see what was next. Oh, then I opened up my summer coaching program for Blushing Phoenix, and people responded like crazy. I just didn't even do a ton of marketing around it. I put together a little bit of content, posted that, and I just had so many people reach out. Oh my gosh, it's hummingbirds. Oh my gosh. I have not seen hummingbirds all season, and 2 of them just landed on there's a window behind this camera, and there is a hummingbird feeder there, and I have not seen hummingbirds all season. My husband and I were just talking about this the other day, and 2 of them just came flying around the hummingbird feeder, landed, and then flew back off. And if you have been on this journey with me, let me tell you a side note about hummingbirds. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. When my father was passing away, he was probably a few hours before he died. He was seeing hummingbirds flying around his head. So, oh my gosh, can I please go on a tangent with you for a minute? Because it's a funny story. If you haven't read my book, Lean In, you got to check it out. It's in the description below. But it's essentially about me witnessing somebody facing their mortality. So my dad had colon cancer and he passed away from it in June of 2020. But for 11 months, I got to walk alongside him on this journey. And I'm just so infatuated with what's happening outside my window now. Now butterflies are flying by. But some friends of mine had told me that he needed to smoke weed. Well, he had colon cancer that was metastasized to his lungs. So he's like not a smoker at all. So he's like, absolutely not. So then somebody told me, we'll get him some edibles. And so somebody got me some brownies, and I was going to give them to my dad. I don't do it either because I wish I could, but I can't. It takes all the noise. And brings it right up to my head. And then I can't I'm like, oh my gosh, is this what I'm like in the day to day? Anyway, so my dad was going to eat the brownies and I was going to eat them with him. And we were going to have like a whole experience out of it because we knew that the time was drawing near. Anyway, they were in my bag, and at this point, he had already been told by his doctor that he wasn't going to make it through the weekend. His lungs were essentially shutting down, and it was over. So they were in my bag, and there were people at the hospital, and one of them was his friend, and his friend was like, "Oh man, it would have made you feel so much better. You should have done it sooner." And my dad goes, "I definitely don't want anything to alter me at this point." He was like, he goes, "Hell, I'm already seeing hummingbirds." And we were like, "Wait, what?" It was me and my brother and my dad's friend. And we go, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, every time you see me do this, it's because they're flying around my head." And he said it in such a coherent, like natural way, as if that was totally normal. He was very much in his right mind when he was talking to us. So anyway, it was interesting. And then a few hours later, he passed away. And about a month later, my two brothers, my mom, and I all got our hummingbird tattoos. So anyway, tangent there, but that's amazing. Anytime I see them, I just feel so connected to that energy. You know what I mean? So, all right, back to what I was talking about here. So I opened up the summer coaching program and had some really beautiful, amazing meetings with people, sensitive people who are on their journey, who are doing the work, who were so happy to meet and talk. And I was so happy to meet and talk to them. It was just something so beautiful and healing about like-minded people coming together. So I did my summer coaching program. It was very limited in who I could meet with and how much time I had during that season, but it was amazing to open up my schedule and sit with people and talk with them. And one of them, I actually was flushing while we were on the call together. That's on my Instagram page where I talked about like I'm coaching someone and I'm flushing, and she never once thought that like, well, what kind of coach are you? Because you're flushing. You didn't even heal yourself yet. She did not care. If anything, she felt like she was really in a safe place, that she could be totally understood. And I remember for so many years, I just felt like with Blushing Phoenix, I could not be a coach. Like, how could I coach you? And how can I tell you like there's healing when I couldn't stop turning red myself? And that's when I started to realize it wasn't about whether you turn red or not. It was not about that thing. That is the symptom to a bigger, deeper, more complex thing that's going on. And that's when I started to realize that ours manifests as redness in our skin, but everybody has something that they're dealing with or that they're healing from and they're growing from, that they're trying to release themselves from the bondage of. So we're not any different than any other human on the planet. Let's see what happened next. And if I have time, I might have to do this into like 2 parts. We'll see. Then in June, I met Colin Klim, have an interview with him, and Alondra Sanchez. I have an interview with her also on the channel. Be sure to go check them out. With Colin specifically, because he's a coach in the space as well, he is a younger gentleman that healed himself when he was young, like in high school. And my situation developed when I was in my mid-20s, late 20s. And his was in high school, and he literally just changed his mind. He changed his mind, and he started showing up as who he was going to be, as opposed to letting the redness dictate his actions and his mindset. And I just think he's just such a powerful human this is just the beginning for him. I'm so excited to be connected to him and watch his story unfold, because when you talk with like-minded people, there was something about talking with him that really just elevated my energy even more, because it was just so like-minded. And I truly believe, as I don't know him super well, but I truly believe from just our interactions, he is so honest. He's not trying to pretend to be some influencer beyond where he's actually at in his life. I've met so many people who build these empires as if this is who they are. So you'll believe that this is who I am, and then you'll pay me all kinds of money. So you'll come and join my programs. And if you've been around, you know, I got my own feelings about that. And I was really hesitant to meet with him when he and I first connected, because I was like, I'm really careful about who I get on my platform and who I recommend to other people. But I truly believe that he is just a really honest guy that is owning where he's at right now. He knows he doesn't have it all figured out, but my gosh, he is a smart human and just awesome guy. Anyway, meeting with him, I think really was a huge part of my own trajectory because it just kind of validated my own experience. Then in mid-June, I had an appointment with an OBGYN for an annual, just my annual appointment. It was not my original OBGYN. When I first moved to South Carolina, there was like a big thing that happened with my insurance, and I had to switch from one medical provider to another, which I always trust, like that's going to work out as it should, even though I really like the doctor that I was with. But I wound up with another doctor under another medical, I don't know, like in the practice of this hospital system. It was amazing. I've never felt so heard and seen. And she was definitely younger than me, but as soon as I started telling her about like just some of my pelvic floor issues from after I had the baby, and then I had postpartum, and then obviously it made my body different, and then I was having a hard time running because if you've been around, you already know what I'm going to tell you, is that there was some incontinence, and I was trying to build my body back to be able to run again, which is why that 5K earlier in the year was such a big deal for me. And which, by the way, I forgot that in my timeline. That happened in May as well. We ran that 5K in May, 3.1 miles. My goal was don't stop and don't piss yourself. And I accomplished those. That was the whole purpose of doing the 5K with my daughter. Anyway, when I talked to this OBGYN about the issues that I was having, she just stopped for a second and she goes, I have a thought. Wait right here. And she ran out of the room. And then she came back and handed me this pamphlet or a folder. I think it's over here, but she handed me a folder about perimenopause. And she asked me, when did my mom start perimenopause? And I was like, I don't know. I just feel like nobody talks about it. And so I feel like I'm working through this alone. And she's like, well, I think you're experiencing some symptoms of perimenopause. Doesn't mean you are like absolutely, in the thick of getting to that place in your life, but this is around the time that it starts. I'm 39 years old. So it starts around this time. Some people are a little early, some people a little later, but you can see a lot of changes in the way the muscular structure of your pelvic floor is, which can lead to chronic UTIs and bladder weakness. So she talked to me about hormone replacement therapy, topical, like it's a topical option. Essentially it's just vaginal estrogen, and it's like very, very minimal side effects. It's not super, super costly. And anyway, it has been life altering. The whole point of using this topical estrogen is so that it can start to restore the muscle and just get everything strong again. Anyway, it's been amazing. My daughter and I are going to run our second 5K at the end of October, and my body is just responding so well. There's something about somebody letting you know you're okay and what you're experiencing is normal, and that you're not the only one going through it. And there are options for you, so you don't have to suffer through any of whatever it is that's hindering you. So that happened. And then in July, I had a client meeting. I've had these client meetings multiple times. This is through my work. And I just felt like in preparation of that meeting, I started having so much dang anxiety that I was not capable of presenting this plan to them that I have done multiple times with other clients. And around at the beginning of May, it was towards the end of May, I started doing two things: looking into human design. I'm going to go on and on about human design. I'll talk about it more later, or probably in a part 2, because this is getting super long and I got to get ready to jump on a call. But human design and cycle syncing as a woman, following my menstrual cycle, something I've never learned about until probably the last couple of years, and then actually put a plan around it a few months ago. So I'm looking at how I'm reacting based off of this human design system and my cycle. So when you're different, whether you're in your follicular phase, your ovulatory phase, your luteal phase, or on your actual period. So your hormones are changing. You are changing energetically during those times. It doesn't mean you just don't do anything because you hate the world because you're on your period, but there are things you can do to protect yourself and your energy and just understanding yourself more as you go through different phases of your cycle. And speaking of cycle, it goes back to what my friend told me about, like, this is a pattern, this is a cycle. When I started following that cycle, the actual cycle syncing with my menstrual cycle, I'm like, duh, it's a cycle, because it's literally a cycle. I feel totally different at certain parts of the month. I'm able to do more things kind of naturally and easily different times of the month. And when I started tracking that, I realized where I was in my menstrual cycle, and to align certain projects and things that I'm doing, if I can, to those parts of the cycle. And it's like a booster. It gives you this boost of adrenaline and energy and creativity when you're syncing the things that you're doing up with the right part of your cycle. I'm going to do a whole video about that because I think it's really important for people who blush and for people who just struggle with like figuring out like, why the heck am I so on and off, and why am I so hot and cold? It's probably got to do with your cycle, and also human design, because sometimes it's like square peg, round hole, where you are trying so hard to be what all these gurus are telling you you need to be, but you truly don't operate that way. And when you get in alignment with how you actually operate, it's like you're not betraying yourself anymore, which for me, as someone who has gone through struggling with erythrophobia, so much of that had to do with feeling like I'm constantly betraying myself, or square peg, round hole, and it just doesn't fit, which makes you then feel like you don't fit and like something's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you, my friend. So anyway, I'll go into a whole different segment of that at another time, because it's super... like, that's probably two of the main things that literally changed my life and eliminated blushing for me over the past few months. All right, let me see if I could jump through the rest of these really quick. So anyway, the client meeting, I just felt like so overwhelmed by all the things. And then I showed up. It was one of those things where like I couldn't not show up. I had to show up. And I changed my mindset. I'll go into that as well. You know what I'm going to do? Yeah, we're going to do a part 2 because this is long. So in the part 2, I'll finish up. We had the client meeting. I showed up for it. Let me bring this to a close so I can do a part 2. Showed up for it. It worked out. It was fine. Then in between all these dates that I've given you, I've gone to coffee and lunches. I have sang karaoke multiple times in front of people and just felt the redness or the fear or whatever from the judgment. And there's so much I've learned with the new perspective that I have being up there with the mic. I should have cut it off when I told you I was going to cut it off. I reached the max recording time, so I'm on my phone right now. But I'll do a part 2. I'll do a part 2 because even my camera was like, girlfriend, you've talked for too long. We'll do a part 2 and I'll go into all the stories about karaoke, all the other stuff, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you find this type of video helpful or anything in here resonated with you, please let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter. And if you're interested in listening to the podcast, some of this content makes its way over to the podcast. It's called Ignite. You can find all of that at aprilpointer.com. I think that's in the description box below as well, where we talk about life beyond the blush. And we talk to some really cool people, and I just talk about all my stuff beyond blushing. But thank you again for tuning in today, and until next time, I'll see you in my next video. And you are so much more than red.